Magnetic Men Club. We are here on another Friday Live with you guys. Today, we're talking about how to get your money right. This is something we actually posted a video on this last week. Jared actually had a whole bunch of advice in that video where he talked about this stuff. I'm Chase. This is my good friend Jared here.
What's up, kids? Hope everyone's going to have an amazing weekend. Back down here in North Carolina doing a live with you guys. Chase, of course, is in Cabo. Well, of course, why wouldn't he be? And so that video, I actually tailored that video a little bit more towards the young man watching this, and we can link the video below or
definitely.
It was a lot of the mistakes young people tend to make living that lifestyle that you see on Instagram that's fake. Again, if you're watching this and you're younger man, I promise you, most of these people with these Lamborghinis, with these mansions, with these private jets, they're renting them. They don't own them. It's all for show. And it's usually for show to sell you something. And it really messes with the young man's psyche because they want all of that. They want the beautiful woman. They want that badass car. They want that beautiful house. But look at, unless you were born lucky and you had mommy and daddy's money or you had daddy's business that's given to you, it's all work. You have to work for this. And it doesn't,
Right.
It's not an overnight process. And a lot of people, like I said, they want the trophy. They're never willing to put into the work to actually run the race. They just want the trophy.
A lot of us are in that unlucky camp too. I think most of us actually, even 90, 95% of people at least are in that unlucky camp where, we didn't have parents who had a lot of money. We didn't have stable childhoods or whatever you want to call it, right? A lot of it comes down to the fact that we're dealt the cards that we're dealt. But you don't have to, you get to play the hand. You get to choose how you play the hand. And that's really what it comes down to. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, you're going to lose some rounds. That's fine. It's not a big deal. A lot of the biggest problem that I see with people who are in that situation is they have what I call a fixed mindset. They've got a bad money mindset. A lot of this stuff is based on your money mindset too. Like the way that you think about money, the way that you value money and that kind of stuff too. Because realizing that you're going to have to make some sacrifices if you want to crawl out of your situation. You're going to have to absolutely try and be frugal, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of stuff that Jared touches on in this video. And I think it's super important to understand, we're all in this situation together. We're all kind of dealing with this no matter where we're at, what our status is, whatever. Even people who have stuff handed to them, they don't have the skills necessarily to stay where they are. And at the same time too, even if you've seen the movie or the show Succession on HBO, even that whole show is about how they're pretty much not going to end up with their father's legacy. They're not going to end up with their father's company, and it's billions and billions of dollars for sure. But at the same time, like I said, just because you're well off doesn't mean you have the skills. If you don't have the skills, you got nothing to carry you forward. You can't build an empire from scratch. And especially if the empire that you're in charge of crumbles, you can't rebuild it again. You're kind of stuck with what you have. You're going right from the top, right down to the bottom. And you can't rise out of the situation again. Because one thing that rings true with me, something that Naval Ravikant said in a podcast and a tweet storm a couple years ago, he was talking about how you could drop him off on a desert island somewhere where he's never been before. He doesn't speak the language, anything like that. You take all of his money and resources away, and it wouldn't be 3 years. He'd be back in the same position he was as a billionaire again because it's a skill set.
Yeah. I firmly believe that because there's a lot of people who've actually crossed paths with me in my life where they were doing really well, and then one person, there was a divorce, that kind of threw a wrench in, but they bounced right back. There are principles. I was just talking to my girlfriend about this because a lot of people have this thought that, God just blesses people. Some people are just blessed. The principles of success work exactly the same, whether you're a dickhead or you're a pastor or whatever. The principles of success
absolutely
has nothing to do with God. It has zero to do with that. Now, you could argue that there are some blessings that he bestows upon you. Maybe you you're really good, like you're super good with computers. Well, you could say that is a blessing, but you still had to do the work to learn it. But
Right. Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, look at some of the billionaires out there right now. I wouldn't consider a lot of them very good people. They made some very good choices, and they took massive risk to get to where they were. And a lot of it has to do with risk. If you have no risk, there is no reward. And, there's nothing wrong inherently with having a 9-to-5 job. If part of your wiring is you need security, you need that, well, it's not secure, but if you need the thought of having security, every Friday, X amount is going into your account. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's the way you are, then we're not here to push you and say, oh, no, you need to do it this way. No. But there are some things you can do to bring up more money, create more money if you're lacking in that. 9-to-5 is only going to get you someplace. But it is a skill set. There's set skills that you can – some people just know. I mean, look, Alex Hormozi is a perfect example. He's 33 years old. He's worth about $200 million. He started with nothing. Really, his dad didn't give anything. There's certain things he just knew, and then there's things he had to learn to get him to that next level. One thing you talk about a lot in your videos, and we're going to plug it because every Tuesday Chase drops videos centered around building businesses, building side hustles. He's more of talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset around it. But there's certain things you can learn, and there's certain things that you're just really good at. And then that's kind of where you want to focus on. What am I good at? Do I have the gift of gab? Well, I can use that. Am I good at just creating stories? Am I a good storyteller? Well, I might be a good content creator, just bringing people in on the stories. But nobody inherently, I don't feel anyway, there's no blessings out there. God's not just picking winners and losers. And I get that a lot because I have coached people centered specifically around money, and they have two different thoughts. One is money is the root of all evil. You've heard that before. I've heard my parents even say, my dad's like, oh, must be nice to be these guys. They're probably drug dealers.
Right. Now, Alex Hormozi had the similar thing too, actually. Alex Hormozi's dad thought there's no way he's making this kind of money without drugs. He has to be selling drugs.
Right. And then the other thought is, you hate the people who are doing better than you. And it's like, well, it's easier to hate somebody because you can dismiss it. You can say, oh, screw this. They're selling drugs. I don't like them. I would never want that. It's easy because then the spotlight's back off you. You can just dismiss it. So if you do have all these mindsets, if you do have these thoughts, I had them earlier on too. I was brought up, largely by my mom, but in that middle income, lower to middle income. And anytime we saw somebody who had something better than us, automatically default is they sell drugs or they got it illegally.
Same.
Yeah. And so I even get people who, say, it must be nice for you. You have this nice car, you have these businesses. And I'm like, buddy, I'm about 14 hours a day, every day, Monday through Friday. Or sorry, Monday through Sunday. Monday through Sunday.
No joke.
Do you want to trade your life for mine? Or, so I don't know. This has always been a good subject that I'm glad we're picking up on because the mindset people have around money is completely fucked most of the time. It's like, how did you get this? Who told you this? That person's your enemy. That person is your enemy. And sadly, it's usually your parents. I'm dropping a video soon that basically says, and it's a little bit clickbaity, is don't listen to your parents. And it is a lot of these thoughts around money, a lot of these thoughts about, hey, go to college if you want to be successful. So that video is going to be dropped soon. And again, it's really for the younger crowd. You
Well,
know,
it's interesting that you say that too, because like one of the first books that really changed my mind about that was obviously Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I think that's kind of the Bible for getting started on this stuff, for getting started in entrepreneurship and trying to actually run your own business and stuff. Because like he breaks down true legends in that book and how they made their money. He
yeah,
interviewed all of them from the early 1900s. Like you're talking like Rockefeller and you're
yeah,
talking Henry Ford, all those guys, right? And how they actually built these huge empires.
yeah,
And so there's a lot of knowledge in that book. And he talks a lot about the similarities between each one of them and like their mindsets, all that
yeah.
stuff. That's all in that book. That's why it's called Think and Grow Rich. It's kind of
Right.
the mindset and how you should be thinking about it and realizing that like what makes you rich is the way that you think. Like if you
Yes.
read Wallace Wattles, he's got a book from the early 1900s too, basically The Science of Getting Rich. And in The Science of Getting Rich, I remember what rings with me in that book over and over again was him talking about how it's just a way of thinking. Like it's really just a way of thinking.
Yeah.
So there's that, but at the same time too, like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think is where any young kid should start out. Like really, you've got to read that book and truly absorb it and understand it because it'll really talk to you about the differences between how one of his rich dad spends his money, spends his time, skills himself up, what he does, how he invests, and how he's thinking about his money and how it's working for him versus his poor dad who did everything right, who stuck with the working class, had a really good job, moved up the ladder. He wasn't a poor dad in the sense that like he just like didn't make money. Like he did everything the way the American dream says to do it. He did everything, moved up the ladder, like I said, and he got promoted and everything, but he still just wasn't as rich as his rich dad because he just thought about money differently. He talks about the differences between those two in that book. And another one I would recommend too is the E-Myth. Michael Gerber talks a lot about the differences between the entrepreneur, the manager, and the employee. Because one thing that we need to talk about here is that it's kind of an employee mindset. I remember when I first got into services and stuff like that too, the biggest mistakes that I made was thinking that I had to do everything, thinking that like I actually had to provide all these services and that I had to sell my time for money. I had to sell my effort for money. And that's the way employees think. So like I said, if you read Tom Sawyer back in the day, you start to realize, okay, well, this guy, he got other people to paint a fence for him, right? He took advantage of other people's time. And it's starting to understand, like, you got to crawl out of that employee mindset and learn how to delegate and learn how to leverage other people's time and skills and learn how to leverage your money to be able to leverage those things so that you can make your money without actually having to do anything. You start to move into that passive income mindset. And that's what my Tuesday calls are really going to be all about. And what we're working on the back end in our coaching program too is ways for you guys to kind of plug and play this stuff too. And so we'll talk a lot more about that as we go through this stuff too. But really, let's stick to the subject of getting your money right? So like, let's talk about a few more of the things that you talked about in that video too.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it for this particular kid, and I call him kid again, I'm 40 years old. The gentleman I was talking about was 27. And I used to own a convenience store, believe it or not. I had a bunch of different businesses back in the day, and I used to own a convenience store, and he used to come in there with his dad. So that's how I knew him. And he always said, oh, well, Jerry, he's the owner. He must be worth a ton of money and blah, 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 And, a lot of people don't know about the convenience store businesses. I was there 12, 14 hours a day, every single day. And so you're still doing what you just said. It was just a job. I didn't have a business. I had a job that I employed myself as.
And you were the boss, but it's still
I was
job.
the boss. I was the chief cook and bottle washer. I was all of them. But that was a good stepping stone for me to kind of learn that there are certain types of businesses that are out there that are fine, they're good, but they're jobs. They're just a business that somebody can't fire you, but you're married to that job. And I knew for me, that was not what I wanted to do. So I got out of it and I ended up keeping the real estate and, renting out the place to it. But so a lot of it was like you mentioned, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the first book I picked up as I was transitioning out of the military. I wanted to get into real estate. Somebody said, you need to read this book. It's perfect for you. It's not just real estate, but it's about mindset. And that's really what it is about mindset. It's about understanding you have to learn to crawl before you can walk. And this generation right now of young men, they don't want to learn the skill set, but they want the money for it. And that was really why I sparred the video, because look at, I have a Smash Park, and I won't plug it, but it's a minimum wage, except for my daughter who kind of runs it. But pretty much minimum wage in New York is $15 an hour. Kind of high, but I'm between $15 and $16 an hour. And you can't really live on that. I mean, if you're a young kid, okay.
That's true. Yeah.
But that was what this kid was doing. He was doing $15 an hour service jobs, and his head was barely above water. He had a girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, and 2 kids. But he had the bling. He had the bling. He had the watch. He had nice clothes and all that. So you can look rich, or you can be rich. You know, I mean, a perfect example would be somebody like Zuckerberg. The kid looks like a complete moron, but he's a billionaire. He doesn't value that stuff. He just doesn't value that. Bill Gates, another one. He would be the kid you beat up in high school, yet now he's worth more than you ever will be, and your whole bloodline ever was. So,
Warren Buffett too. Warren Buffett's pretty similar. Buffett. You'll still find him eating McDonald's though. That's
yeah. But the whole point about it is, most of society right now just wants to look rich. They want to look like they have money, but they don't at the end of the day. And I don't want that to happen to the people watching this channel. I'd rather have you look poor to have a big bank account or tons of assets. And one of those things you have to do, especially if you're young, especially if you only have a education, even a college ed specialize in anything, that could probably happen. Oh my God, just happened today. I was in my Uber, and the kid was 24 years old. He's my Uber driver. I'm like, what's up? He goes, I just graduated college. I can't find a job in my field. I'm like, what's your field? He goes, textiles. I said, okay, so fabrics and stuff. He goes, yeah. And I only went in there because it was an easy degree. I didn't like it. So what do you want to do? I want to be a personal trainer. Great. But the dude just spent NC State. That's one. He's probably 80 grand, 100 grand in debt. He basically delayed his life 4 years. I want that to happen to you. And you get a degree that you can put on the wall that you can't use. Like getting a business degree or a marketing degree these days. They're freaking bullshit. None of them.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Okay, get out of here. They're just bullshit
degrees. Like most of those degrees, they make you more valuable for having a job. Like you can get a better job with that. You can make more money yearly, monthly, whatever. You can have a higher salary with those kinds of degrees. You might be able to beat out other candidates for certain jobs with those degrees. Yeah. But the thing is, too, that's why I went into entrepreneurship. Like, because I went to school for game art and design, man. And I realized, like, I'm not building games today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I used to. I built like over 30 games back in the day. But at the same time, I really leveraged those skills that I learned in high school and that I learned in college. Because, I mean, I took C++ classes in high school. I started building applications right out of school. I went to college to try and learn how to program better. I was trying to learn how to actually program the game characters and stuff too. I didn't care about the game design. I didn't really care about the art or anything. I really just wanted to get better at programming.
Right.
And I mean, I leveraged that to move into an agency, just basically building custom websites. Now I build custom apps for people.
Right.
And so like, that's really kind of just how it overlapped over time, and like getting into marketing and all that stuff too. Cause like, I realized that like, you know, I'm not a super social person. I don't like really getting out there and making a whole bunch of friends. Like I'm not the life of the party.
Right.
I mean, I'm not boring. I'm not dull, but at the end of the day, like I'm not somebody who really likes to throw myself into social situations either. I'm really a back end person. I like working on the back end. I like coding and programming. I like putting my headphones on and just plugging away at code for 5 hours. That's what I like doing. And
Right.
so ultimately, like I had to find other people who were more social, who could sell my products for me, people who I could partner up with and team up with to do these different things for too. Really leveraging referrals and stuff back and forth. There's so much that I had to learn when I first got into this. And like I said, the first book that really flipped my mindset on all of this stuff was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like obviously that was the first one I got into that really moved me from the fact that like, hey, you don't have to sell your time for money. You can sell skills. You can actually go learn something that's more valuable than your time. And you can sell your skills for a lot more money because it makes your time a lot more valuable. Like nowadays, I won't sit down for anything that's worth less than $100 an hour. Like there's no way I'm sitting down for under $100 an hour. You got to pay for at least $100 for an hour of my time on any typical basis. And so that's, I mean, you got to understand that your time is a lot more valuable than you think it is. And a lot of the time, like these businesses are selling your effort and your time, the people that you work for, because they understand that like they're going to make more money off of you than you're making off of yourself. They're going to mark your time up and your skills up and your efforts up for a profit.
Right.
And nobody would have a job if that wasn't the case. Like obviously everybody's doing that. And so you got to understand that you're not valuing your time the way that you should be. And so the answer isn't to do more overtime or to go get a second job. I mean, if you don't have the skills yet, obviously you got to work with what you have. You're going to have to go get another job. You're going to have to drive Uber, whatever you have to do to get those skills. But in your free time, you really need to be skilling yourself up with really high value skills. And then start just working. Like, don't wait for somebody to give you a job. Start just doing things that make sense for that job, right? So if you're trying to be a programmer, build applications, go show case studies. If you're trying to be a marketer, then do some marketing. See what kind of results you can get and go show people those results. Work for somebody for free if you have to, but get the results so that you can really start to level yourself up more and more and more as you go.
Right. Yeah, no, perfect. You just said it right there. And you basically said what I said in the video in the sense of you might have to let, if you have a family, they're going to have to suffer in your absence for a while because that second job or driving Uber, that extra money is going to your newfound education. So in the video, I describe sales as something pretty much everybody can get into. If you don't have the mindset, you don't have the skill set yet for coding, maybe you do, then get into that. I just use it as a general. Sales is one of those industries or niches. If you're really good at it, you'll never not have a job. You'll never not. In any big corporation, the sales team is the last to get fired. It's middle management and HR usually, and like the little robots. If you're really good in sales, that is one of the best ways you can pull yourself out of minimum wage jobs and even lower and even $20, $30 hour jobs. You know, if you're able to sell something, you have a skill set most people don't have. So that's why I offered that. And you're still going to be trading your time for money, but then once you do have a job, especially if you don't have a degree, if you don't have a resume on it, you're going to have to do a lot of work. You're going to have to knock on every door, make every single phone call out there. Somebody's going to give you a chance. And then you got to really become their best employee they ever have, because you still know how to build. You got to build a book. You can't just like, oh, cool, thanks for giving me a job. You have to prove now to that boss that you are the best. And then once you get some success with that, now it's a resume builder. Then you're going to start trading up on your jobs and get into that. So that's kind of how I used it as the framework for that particular video. But, if you have a skill set that you're really good at, then Chase again on Tuesdays. And if you want to book a call with him, the internet's his specialty, the worldwide, that's his specialty. So if you're looking to scale an idea and you have skills in that, great. Most people don't have usable skills. They just don't. Or the skills that they think they have, there's no market for it. And so you really gotta look at yourself and say, great, I have a degree in this. Now, how am I going to make money? I don't want you guys to get into that mindset of I need to get. This might sound harsh, but your feelings have nothing to do with this. Get your feels out. Like, well, I feel like learning about this thing. Does it make money? Can you make money? No. I don't care what you can feel like doing that when you're making money.
Right.
Most successful people that I've talked to don't really love what they do. They're just very competitive and they're very good at what they do, but they're not very passionate about the actual thing they do. They're passionate about being the best at it and being dominating in it. And so that's another mindset that why they make so much money, because they're just going to dominate one specific thing, one specific area. They're going to crush everybody else in. That's where they're going to make their money.
It's all about leverage, though. That's the biggest thing that Alex Hormozi talks about, too, is like the farther you get into this and the more you learn and the more you outdo everybody else, the more leverage you're going to have over time. So let's say that the picks right here, right? And you have you're going to go farther and farther down the line. The more leverage that you have, the easier it's going to be to tip the scales, right? Yeah. And so it's understanding that, like, yeah, maybe you can't do exactly what you want to do for the first 5 years. Maybe you have to do the thing that you have to do for the first 5 years. Maybe that's working in your job. Maybe that's climbing up the ladder. Maybe that's being a top performer, whatever it is. Man, even when I was working at Papa John's, I was a top performer. I didn't care what the job was. I was going to be the best at whatever the job was. I didn't care what it was. You gave me a job, I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm here every day. I'm here from start to close. It doesn't freaking matter. I'm working more and harder than everybody else. That's just the mindset that I always had in any job I ever went into. Yeah. And so that was the job. That was the mindset I had going into college, all that stuff too. And as I got into entrepreneurship, it's been the same mindset. And so understanding that, like, you have to outdo everybody else. You do. You got to think like Kobe Bryant in this. Like, you got to do the extra reps. You got to be the best, no matter what it is. You got to be the best. Even if you don't like doing it, you still got to be the best at it. Yeah. And the more that you're a top performer, the more you think that way, and the more you actually deliver on that, the farther down you're going to get, the more leverage you're going to have, because you're going to make more and more money. You're going to pull yourself out, and you're going to free up your time more and more as you go, to a point where you're not having to work crap. Like, you're not having to work at all during the day, and you can do whatever the hell you want. At the end of the day, if you're a top performer like that, you're not just going to sit around and do nothing. We're not just going to sit around and watch Netflix all day. No, we're going to go do more things that we really want to do and really start to make that impact that makes us feel fulfilled. Because that's the thing, too, is people look at Elon Musk and they look at Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all those guys, and they're like, hey, well, nobody needs that much money. Right. No, maybe not. Sure. But, like, why should we take their money away? I mean, they just built up that leverage over years and years and years of work and leveraging their skills the right way. Maybe some of it was luck. But they were in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, for sure, more so than anybody else was. And so they got that money. Sure. You want to get that leverage. So that's the biggest thing, is understanding, like, getting money from the government, having the money, like, the government take care of you as a socialist regime or as communism comes about. You know, that's the wrong way to think about it, because at the end of the day, like, you really want to be able to go as far as you can go. The sky's the limit, right? So you want to be able to build your own leverage. But like I said, you really got to be a top performer in all this stuff. And that's really what it takes. You got to be the best. You got to think like Kobe.
Yeah, I love it, because the other thing I noticed about a lot of these billionaires, for the most part, even the Amazon, Bezos, he was talking on a podcast I listened to recently, and he was telling me of all the businesses that, because he made so much money in Amazon, he was able to do seed money and seed projects and pet projects, and completely lost millions. He even said probably billions at this point. Now, again, we're getting a little bit off topic, but I want you guys to think about the mindset that these guys have. They made X amount of money. Now they have this pot that they kind of carve out and say, this is for pet projects. These are the passions. These are the things I've wanted to do. These are my, what if I could make this, that. And it's a pot of money that if they lose it, it doesn't affect them at all. Sadly, most people, if they lose just a little bit of their money, it devastates them. And so it's just a dollar amount. Bring it back down. None of us here are going to have Elon Musk money. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Alex Hormozi, a multi 200-300 million. He's probably not going to have it, but the game is long, and you want to take risks. You want to take calculated risks. You want to do them in areas that are growing, and not just have the mindset of playing it safe. That's kind of where I'm getting at, even in my videos. Don't play it safe. Don't, even if you have a 9-to-5 job and you have what you think is stability, fine. I'm not going to shatter your illusion, but maybe you do have some money saved up in a savings account, making you a whole whopping 0.5% interest right now or something like that. Now's the time to maybe get out there and start leveraging that money that's doing you nothing in a bank right now and putting it into a business and putting it into that. It's the same principle as that kid I was talking about. Is he's working extra money to make that bank to put it into his education. So we're all doing it at different levels in our life. It's all about growth. It's all about relearning, retooling ourselves. I'm 48 years old. I've done so many different jobs. I've owned so many different companies. So I do have a lot of experience in a ton of different industries. But I'm always retooling myself. I'm always want to learn. I want to grow, because I do take some of my income and I'm like, well, let's just put it over here and just see. And, and I live I live very like below my means in that sense. I don't have an extravagant house. I don't need one. I have a nice car, but just because it's comfortable, I travel a lot. I have a nice car, but
that was one of the biggest things that I got from The Richest Man in Babylon. If you ever read that book, that's one of the key points in that book, is the fact that you should pay yourself first. Mm-hmm. So don't pay anything else. Don't worry about anything else. You pay yourself first. And what that means is take 10% of your money, every freaking dollar that you make. Take 10 cents out of that dollar. Every $100 that you make, take $10 out of that $100 and throw it in a savings account. Mm-hmm. That's for you. That money's for you. That money is not for bills. That money is not to catch up on rent. That money is not for anything else. It's not for clothes. It's not to buy a car. That money is to skill yourself up. That money is for coaching. That money is for schooling. That money is for education. That money is to invest in other things that are actually going to make you more money. And that's really what's going to free you from that grind at the end of the day. That's one of the biggest things I got from that book. And at the same time, too, with Jeff Bezos, there's a book called The Everything Store. And one thing that he talks about, too, is in that book, he talks about how he started out selling books in a garage. Like, that's how Amazon started. Amazon didn't sell everything under the sun back in the day. They sold books, and that was all they sold until they got up and running, until they had enough money to start to branch out and try other things.
Right. And that's all we want people to do, is start getting little wins for yourself, starting getting little success. And success breeds success. If you still have that thought in your mind that, I'm never going to get any further than I am now, and you accept your lot in life, well, then that's exactly where you're going to be in 10 years, just older. So money's one that I actually, it's odd. I've coached people solely on money, just money. I've coached people who have inherited a lot of money, and then they kind of gotten this guilt from it because they never had any. And I've coached people that are, struggling. Divorce is one. A lot of it's around money. One of the main reasons why people get divorced is, besides infidelity, it's usually the man's inability to perform. Maybe he got sick, cancer, or something like that, and he could not make money. Usually, I'm sorry guys to tell you, women usually will bail. It's just how, you can look at me and say, Jared or Dick, I can't believe you said that. The stats don't lie. So
it's reality. It is.
It's reality. So get talking to these people about money and the thoughts that they've had around it, the fears that they have. There's a lot of fear around money. Money's just a scorecard. That's all it is. To me, money does nothing for me. It's just a scorecard. It's like you have 3 billionaires sitting in there. Do you think they are jealous of each other? No, they're all competitive. Like, all right, this dude's clearly, he's worth 50 billion. I'm only worth 10 billion. Maybe I better shut up and listen to him. How do I get to that level? But when you're making a lot of money, here's the thing also with people who are the top 1%, they're willing to help pull you up.
Absolutely.
50% of the population right now in the U.S., their average income is $38,000, and that's per the 2021 U.S. Census. So think about that. Those people are all fighting amongst themselves. The people at the top, like you said, they have leverage. They get you to do the work. They work on economies of scale. Well, you can do the same thing in your life.
That's truth though. Like
It's so
the
true.
bottom will keep you down. Like it's just like falling into a pool full of people with arms trying to pull you back down. The
They
people at the
want
top will pull you up.
yes. The higher up in income, the people that I know that make tremendous amount of money, you can call them or at least email them. I wouldn't say you can call them, but they'll help you. They'll say they're not going to help you with money, but they'll say, hey, in this situation back in the day, I remember this. This is what I did. I want you to read this book. That's how they'll help you. They'll give you the tools to help you.
That's what
They're
I
not
got.
going to
Yep.
give you a handout like the government. When you get a handout from the government, they're not helping you, they're enabling you. And this is what happens when you have these lower income jobs where they still might need a little bit off topic, but I do a lot of real estate that is public assistance and Section 8, and they're still able to work, but only a little bit. They can only work to a certain level, or Big Daddy government starts pulling out their services from underneath them.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they're kind of stuck. They're kind of like, well, if I work more, they take more away from me. I get taxed more. It's a struggle. Being poor sucks. Being poor in America.
Oh, I've seen that through and through too. Like even when I was working at the IRS, I knew people that avoided being promoted because it would put them into a different tax bracket and they'd have to pay more in taxes. And you're talking like just barely over $70,000 a year. And so they're like, oh, I can't do that because now they're going to charge me, 5-10% more on my taxes. And that
Right.
obviously that little bump in a raise would cause them to have to pay way more in taxes. And so they just stayed in their position. They didn't want to move up.
Yeah, yeah. There is a saying, being poor in America, you're still rich worldwide. And that is true. Most poor people, what we talked before, have big screen TVs, they have nice clothes, they have brand new Jordans. Well, what is making them poor? Back to the video. They're living a lifestyle that everybody else has a lifestyle like that. So why shouldn't I? But they've never really done the work.
Right.
Mercedes-Benz is the most leased vehicle in the U.S. in the worst neighborhoods, meaning the population of people that lease vehicles in like the ghetto neighborhoods or the lower zip code neighborhoods. The most popular vehicle is Mercedes. Why? They want the status symbol, but they can't afford the car.
Yep.
Also, it's also the most repoed car in the same zip codes.
Well, it's realizing too that the fact that cars don't increase your status. Houses don't really increase your status unless you're using them the right way. I mean, if you're renting the house out or using it as an arbitrage method, then it can make you money. Like you got to use your real estate the right way. Don't live in it. Don't just sit there and live in it because then it just depreciates. At the end of the day, like real estate's always going to go up in price. It's always going to go up. It's always going to make you money no matter what you decide to invest in. Yeah. But investing in it the right way is really key. Like understanding that this stuff is a lifestyle. Once you have money, once you start your company, once you start your LLC, all that stuff, like, dude, you can write off everything. And really, you need to be out there talking to more people and networking. But the cool thing is when you can go network with entrepreneurs, like take me being here in Cabo, for instance, I can write off $100,000 a year just because I live abroad. Yeah. And that's just a tax credit that they give me just because I live abroad. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. But on top of that, I can go and take other entrepreneurs here to lunch, to dinner. I can take them out to the golf club and I can write that off because it's a business meeting. We're talking about business. We're talking about partnerships. And then on top of that, like I said, you got to leverage your money and use it the right way. Yeah, sure, you're spending a lot of money, but you're writing it off. Now you owe less in your taxes, all that kind of stuff, to a point where you're not even paying taxes anymore. Now every dollar that you bring in pretty much goes right to you, and you can live the lifestyle that you want to live, but you got to do it correctly, and you got to think about your money in the right way. It's just not something you do when you're an employee. When you're an employee, you're thinking, oh, well, I got to work more hours. I got to go do the services, all that kind of stuff. It's what I can do with my time and my effort and my physical ability, when that's not true at all. Like, you can leverage other people's time and abilities. You can spend that money. You can go network and do other things and not owe anything in taxes. And it's not wrong to think that way. It's not wrong to do that. I know a lot of people on the bottom who are stuck in their jobs don't think like that, but that's why you got to free yourself from that cage.
Right. And you're like on, I would say, chapter 30, when a lot of people are like on chapter 1. That's advanced stuff.
Exactly.
But it's more just, don't worry about your tax bracket right now. If you're at 30,000 a year, you're fine. It's getting your skill set up there. You actually, in a way, want the more taxes you pay. And again, we could do videos, and we could probably even put a course together on how to avoid paying taxes. But the higher income you're making, of course, the more taxes. So that's a good goal to have. Oh, cool, I'm in another tax bracket. Awesome. It is another goal that you can look at to have, that you're paying taxes. But there's tons of ways once you get to that level where then you can diversify your income into vehicles that will bring your tax basis down. Again, that's a whole other thing. I'm going to do some videos specifically on real estate about that, because that's been the last 20 years of my life, is basically real estate and the write-offs and all that. So I'm going to do a whole of them. That Chase is going to keep still doing it on that. But part of this channel, besides getting it, getting what we call full stack, well, one of the biggest stacks is your money. That's the biggest thing. And it's not so that you can get women. It's not so you can get that. It's just so that you are able to provide for your family. Maybe your brother is sick and he can't work, and he doesn't know how he's going to help his wife. You want to be in a position in your family to be a giver, to be able to provide that. And that's why I am so passionate about this, because even though I'm not the oldest brother, my older brother is the oldest. I've always felt that out of us three, I'm the one that's in different companies, and I'm moving and I'm going and stuff. And they ask me for different financial advice and stuff. And it feels good because I'm still providing my wisdom. I'm providing not the money, but someday I might have to. Someday my mom might not be able to live in her house anymore, and she needs care and all this. So it's not just about me. It's about everybody else around me that can benefit from my hustle, my grind, from my
mindset. The thing is, money just amplifies who you are. Like, if you're a bad person, sure, it's going to amplify that. If you're a good person, it's going to amplify everything that you are. It's not about making more money and it's an evil thing or anything like that. And thinking about it that way can really hold you back. Thinking about it that way can really keep you from making money. It really can. You cannot think about money that way. It's not evil. It's just an energy. It just amplifies who you are. It's like water, right? Don't be thinking about it scarcely either. Don't thinking about it like it's only having this much coming in. Don't think about it with a scarce mindset, because that's going to keep you stuck too. So the biggest thing is understanding it's all about ultimate freedom. We just want ultimate freedom. We want to be free. Like, you know how good it feels to go out with my family now, and everybody's sitting there talking about, well, how should we split the bill up? Dude, I got it. No worries. I got the whole thing. No worries. I got it. It feels good.
Even that, you just said it. Maybe you can elaborate more on it, because that's the other part of money that people kind of miss. Forget the fact that you were all grown up, money is evil, or that person has money, so he's evil, or they sell drugs, or they won the lottery, or something like that. The other part of money that people have is it's a finite thing. It's not. It's digits right now. It's digits over your head. It's through your body. It doesn't exist. It's just a number. So if you quantify as a number, as a scorecard, your idea is like, now I kind of do it like a video game. Everything's a hobby to me. It's a video game. All right, how many more points can I get today? How many things can I, what can I do? I don't view it as paper anymore. It never is paper. Grant Cardone ever says that once you give the money to the bank, what's the first thing they do? They get rid of it and digitize it, and they amplify it out 6 times over. Well, be your own bank. Do the same thing.
Exactly. Like that's the thing too. When I met Alex Hermosi, I met him when he was dropping this book right behind me, right here, actually,
Oh,
for the first time. Like we actually got to sit down and talk with him for 2 hours in the coaching program that I was in. And one of the biggest things that he said during that conversation we were having with him was, "You got to be non-reactive." Like he's
yeah.
like, "You got to be non-reactive when it comes to money. You just completely got to be non-reactive." He said the richest people that he knew, the billionaires and stuff that he knew, like they would put $100 million into something, and then they would lose it overnight, and they would look at that and they go, well, that was unexpected, and they would just move right on and just
Yeah.
keep spending that money, just keep trying to promote it, just keep trying to make more money.
But
That's the thing too, is like spending your money on things that make you money.
right, but think of how many people take that $100 million and go to $100. Most people think nothing
Right.
of spending $100 on sneakers. They think nothing of spending $100 on a good meal with their girlfriend or their wives or whatever. But when you ask them, oh well, it's $99 to buy this course on whatever it
Right.
is. Oh, that's a scam. Oh, Joe, that person, they're scamming me. I'm like, what the what? They're fine with pissing away money, but on their own education, or it's that thought of money.
I
Oh, they
get it.
just
Yeah,
want their money.
I used to
And
think that way, honestly. Like when I first
I
got
did
started
too.
out. Yeah.
I did too. And there are some scams out there. I'm not saying none of them. I'm just saying there are some scams out there, but that's it. That's another part of money. It's everywhere. It's so abundant. You have to become abundant. You have to be accepting that you're worth more than you are right now. And it might sound woo-hoo, hee-hee, but the universe does recognize this. It does. If you expand out, you will receive it, but you have to do the work.
Well, that's the thing, though. Right now, I can tell you 5 years ago, I was working at the IRS. I was
Mhm.
making $38,000 a year. Just what the statistics are, right? That's what I was
Yeah.
making. I was like $18 an hour, something like that.
Yeah.
$19 an hour at the IRS, working customer service, helping other business owners. And one thing that I realized when I was on call after call after call with all these business owners was none of them had any freaking clue what they were doing. None
Right.
of them. Every single one of them that called me, even the accountants and bookkeepers that called me up, had no freaking clue how to run a business. And that's why they were talking to me. And so, like, I always had the back end manual. I could go and look at the IRS's manual and everything that they had compiled on how to do every little thing. And it was cool having that at hand
Yeah.
and understanding that, like, I need to go start my own business. None of these guys have any clue what they're doing. That's one thing that Michael Gerber talks about in the E-Myth, too, was that he was actually trying to sell technology services to a technology company as he was talking to the board of directors. He was like, I had no idea what they did or why they did it or how they did it. And what I realized when I was talking to them was neither did they.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's realizing that that's what business is, man. Nobody has any clue what's going on. Everybody's kind of taking a guess at every single thing. You'll learn more and more as you go through it. And that's why you've really got to listen to people who really are experts and really get that knowledge from people who have achieved something instead of people who are just trying to scam you. Like, you really got to look at people who have gotten results. Because like 5 years ago when I was working at the IRS, like $50 was a lot of money to spend on something. You couldn't get me to pay $50 for a freaking course. Like, one guy tried to charge me $50 a month for a course on business. And I was like, $50 a month? I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
But I tried it for a little while. And now today, within the last 3 years, I've spent $100,000 on coaching because every little part of it has taught me something that's made me more and more money. And now I live in Cabo full time. Now my whole family lives here with me. Now I'm totally financially free. And it's like, I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't spent the money in the right place. If I hadn't spent that $100,000 on coaching,
Right.
there's no way I would have gotten there as fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So investing in yourself, investing in your own education. I hate to say it, college is a dinosaur unless you want to be a doctor or an engineer and all this other crap. But that's not most people. It's an antiquated system. So our demographics are very young that even watch these live streams. Really think about what's the best use of your time. Spending 4 years getting into debt, finding a job you hate, or probably not finding a job at all, or taking that same amount of money, maybe your parents saved 20 grand or something, taking that and put it into real education. And I mean real education is coaches, courses, something you can self-educate yourself. Most employers, especially, you can confirm this when you're in tech and you're in like this who knew AI space, If you
Yeah.
just show them you know what you're doing, you're hired, because nobody's got a
Oh, it's
freaking
true.
clue what's going on. You're not learning it in college. These are just kids putting this stuff
That's
together,
I mean, that's
coding.
really all it takes in tech too. Like, just go make a couple applications. Go make like 5 to 10 applications, and just show these companies what you do, and they'll give you a job. If they really believe in your skill, they really believe that you're going to be an asset to their team.
Yeah.
They don't care what your education is. You just got to reach the right people, follow up with the right people, follow up with every single person on their team, because not everybody else is doing that. Everybody else is kind of just relying on that degree to kind of carry them forward. And that's not what people are looking for anymore, because they've got a lot of dead weight in these companies because of that. I remember when I was working at the IRS, that was all they looked at was your degree. That was all they really cared about. And there was a whole bunch of people there programming who had no freaking clue what they were doing. They had no clue how to program. I was way better than them, and I didn't have a degree in it.
Right. You're going to have some industries that, still it's in their manual. You have to have a degree from this, not this institution, but that institution. It's all.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's all going away. I promise you, inside of 10, 15 years, probably sooner, a lot of these jobs they just will not exist. They just won't. And they'll be replaced by other jobs. Your goal right now as a young man watching this, figure out where that field's going. Figure out where is this going in 10 or 15 years? How do I get involved in it right now? And also your job is, any man watching this or even female watching this, if you had these thoughts of money is the root of all evil, money is scarce, money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, fuck you, that ain't true. I'll tell you that much. Give me your money, I'll be happy.
It's true.
is you really want to start watching videos and some podcasts and reading some good books, maybe even jumping on a call with me. You need to dispel those beliefs that you have, because I promise you they are holding you back. That's what's keeping you exactly where you are. So once you just learn that money is just this thing, it's just this medium exchange, it's just like you said, energy, it's a scorecard, and you're not scared of it, watch what happens in your life. New opportunities come, new insights come into you. You're not so scared about giving $100 on a course when it's not okay. Maybe the course is bullshit. It's $100. You were going to blow it on stupid sneakers, so who cares? And that's
True. Yep.
That's what it is. It's just figuring out what's the best use of your money, and it's not in things. It's in up here. So that's the only thing the government can't take from you guys. You have to understand that the government can take your bank account, especially we get into this crypto stuff. They can take your house. They can take everything. Somebody can take something from you, but not your education. So you want to educate yourself on whatever it is that you're good at, not what you love, what you're good at. Educate yourself, and you can always make money. You can always have an impact and feed your family. That's really the takeaway of the last video I did, and really today's video is you want to educate yourself, and today's educating yourself about money, really, and just finances. And there's so much out there that you need to learn. I'm learning every day,
Well, it's true, because the thing is, too, is like, even if you got into our program, I mean, of course, it's going to cost money. Of course, it costs money to work. We put a lot of time and effort into it. Yeah. It's really worth it. We've put so much time and effort into it. It's almost a plug-and-play system. And so at the end of the day, the thing is that money that you spend there, though, you're going to learn these different business opportunities, the different types of businesses that you can start, how you can really get in control of your money, how you can get in control of your mindset and get over that poor money mindset and really start to overcome those things that have been holding you back. Like, that's one reason why I encourage you to actually take that call with us too, because it's a free hour of your time. Yeah. We're going to go over everything with you. You just talk to us about what you want to talk about and what you're trying to overcome specifically. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to try and help you with. And if we can help you, we feel like we're confident that we can help you, then obviously we're going to offer you something. It is what it is. You don't have to take it. We're not going to force you into it. Right. You're your own person, right? But at the end of the day, it's understanding that, like, for me, if I were to lose everything that I had, if I were to completely have to start over again, that's fine. If I got to move in with my parents, I got to work a job for a year to really just kind of get back up and go in, get back on my feet, dude, I know within 3 years, I'm going to be right back where I'm at here today. And I'm going to keep going even past that. And so that it doesn't really matter what happens to me. I'm not scared of the government taking anything from me. I'm not scared of the economy going to crap. I'm not scared of a recession, none of that, because I know that within 3 years, I'm going to be right back where I'm at because it's a skill set. And
all
that's
it
what
is.
we're here to teach you. We're here to teach you the skill set. We're here to help you overcome yourself and overcome the things that are keeping you stuck.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good one today. I'm going to definitely do some more videos centered around the ideas of money. And obviously, Chase is going to do the actual action of businesses and stuff. And we have a lot of really cool stuff we're dropping soon that will come up later. But there's going to be some really cool businesses that you guys can literally join up with us and you plug in and it's already done for you.
Exactly.
And so that Chase has been working very hard on that, and his wife, obviously, Kim's been helping him on that stuff. But we can't wait to start pushing this out and offering it to you guys. We already have a lot of interest from other companies that want to join in on this, so we might have some other opportunities through those companies as well. But that's the biggest thing is you want to just you got to think outside the box, not think about your 9 to 5. Again, if you're a young guy out there, always live below your means, especially if you have young kids right now, and maybe you had them by accident and you know all that, but you got to live below your means. It's not about you anymore. It's about your kids and it's about your girlfriend or your wife. You got to level yourself up for them. Okay. But if you have a problem with that, please jump on a call with me. I can help you out with the blueprint and what you need to do. And I'll give you some hard truths. I'm going to say, well, you're being a little selfish right now. It's not your time. It's your kid's time. Now you got to go out there and do it. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need a kick in the pants from good old Uncle Jared. I don't know. We'll do it for you.
Sometimes you do. It is. Sometimes you just you got to face the truth. You got to face what it is, and that's what we're here to help you do. Is face it, get over it, really just try and get past all of it. Yeah. Whatever it is that you've got to shake off, whatever it is that you've got to overcome, that's exactly what this program's all about. We're not here to do it for you. We're not here to make it easy for you. We're here to make sure that you do the work. Because once you do the work, you're going to have the foundation that you need for ultimate freedom. And once you have that ultimate freedom and you are where you want to be, then we've achieved what we've set out to achieve. And so that's really all what this is all about. It's really just getting you to do the work, getting you to do the hard work, understanding that you can do hard things with the right support. Yeah. That's what this is all about. So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. Comment below. Make sure you go watch the other video that Jared put out the other day. And you guys have an amazing weekend. We'll see you guys again next week.
Awesome, guys. Have a good one.